Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, can you see me? I don't know how this works on the phone.
All
So
right.
I had to download Zoom onto the phone, and then
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
sure if I'd have to create an account, but it allowed me to join without signing up.
All right.
There's a picnic table up here. It'll just be like 30 seconds. Probably it's going to be better.
Okay.
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. So, where are you from?
From Ontario, Canada.
Okay. And asking about his languages. What languages? And what languages did you grow up speaking?
So Canadian French and Canadian English.
Okay. How did you end up in Richmond, VA?
So through Sylvan's work, through my husband's work, he was recruited at the MFA, and so we moved. And I was on his visa, and I mean, part of that was also the prospect for me of being able to work within the U.S. publishing industry. So we sort of made that decision together, and then moved to the U.S. in at the end of 2019.
Has anybody ever been able to tell that you're specifically have a French Canadian accent in America?
Yeah, I was at Target actually like 2 weeks ago or something, and the woman was like, "Oh, I can hear it," because her grandparents were from Canada also, and then she was saying how she wished she spoke better French and that sort of thing. So every once in a while it happens. I think a lot of people assume because of my marriage that because someone comes from France, they think I'm European a lot of the time. But I think that's more of a projection based on what they know about him rather than what they're hearing.
And what are the differences between like a French Canadian accent and just a France accent?
Yeah, it's enormous actually. There's like someone was saying for France, there's also quite a variety of regional accents in Canada. So like I'm Franco-Ontarian, so there's a specific way of speaking French in Ontario also and in the Lakes region that is very different than what you find in some regions of Quebec. Like when people have a regional accent from somewhere like Gaspésie, it's like not it doesn't sound at all the same. Like uh, it's almost an adjustment to be able to understand each other. And when I moved to France, I found the same thing. Like there was a difference of rhythm in the language, especially. That was probably more of a problem than the difference of vocabulary. And I think it was the same for Sylvain when we moved to Canada. It's just like um, I think the rhythm of Canadian French sounds a lot more like Canadian English, whereas in France it's a lot more of like a sort of wave rhythm that's much more regular and less less punctuated by hard vowels and things like that. So yeah, there's quite a bit of difference between the two. The languages also developed in very different ways. So Canadian French developed from like 17th century French from the settlers there, and so has much more archaic usage and also adapted more to the syntax of English because of the proximity to English speaking people. However, categorically refuses to integrate any type of English vocabulary into French, which is different than France because in France they will adapt English words into common usage. Um, and so there's a differing attitude as well towards the relationship with English.
And okay, so do you think you've gotten any special treatment in the US because of your accent?
No, not specifically. I don't think anybody uh, is has the same kind of attitude about Canadian, uh, French or English accent as they would about like a French accent from France, say, or an English accent or something like that. I think a lot of people um, sometimes assume that I'm just from a northern state of the U.S. Also, I've had that question before. And like what I find being bilingual is that it can be a bit of like if you know those pictures with like the rabbit and the duck, and some people see a rabbit and some people see a duck. I think it's often the same thing. It depends on what people's expectations are, what they hear, and how they kind of assess you and how they treat you. So, no, I haven't had any particular advantage for that.
Uh, any disadvantage?
Um, Sometimes I do, and I'm not sure that it's specific to where I'm from, sometimes I do have the impression that just by being foreign, sometimes there are people that are very dismissive or even hostile sometimes. Like even in the grocery store, sometimes you get like an attitude from a cashier. Like the first couple of years we lived here, I didn't understand sort of that was the case. And then it kind of clicked after we'd gone further south and been to places where people's attitudes were even more extreme in that regard. Then I kind of realized that there's some people here that are a bit xenophobic when it comes to people from other countries generally.
Hmm.
And
Uh, can you tell where an American is from by their accent?
no, I don't have a great ear for that sort of thing. I mean, I would say that there's accents like that sound because I grew up with a lot of media from the U.S. as well as a kid. There's accents that sound pretty neutral to me, like New York State accents and things like that. Um, so I think when it doesn't strike me, I assume that people are from like the northeast of the U.S. But I'm not able to place like a California accent or something like that. Now I could place like a Richmond accent, probably like
Hmm.
a Virginia accent, but um, yeah, not generally. I'm not. Uh, I wouldn't be able to tell you like specifically where just anybody is from. No.
Uh, so what do you what do you think about somebody who speaks with a very strong uh like Appalachia?
Hmm. Yeah, I have a friend who grew up in Appalachia and who, I mean, I find him most of the time understandable. Selma has a bit of trouble understanding him. Um, but to me, it's comprehensible. I mean, I grew up also with people that had accents from all over. Like,
Hmm.
in Canada, there's a lot of new immigration, and in Toronto especially, you hear like multiple languages in a day. So, I mean, I think that I don't have a lazy ear in terms of trying to understand somebody if they're speaking
Hmm.
in a language that I know.
Uh, do you have any biases about people based on their accent anywhere in the world?
I find Australians very difficult to understand. I don't know if that's a bias, but like that's one accent that I do find difficult. Sometimes people from Scotland as well, but I actually had a
Hmm.
job where I had to transcribe people from Scotland in France, so
Hmm.
my ear got better adapted to that. But no, I don't make generalized assumptions about anybody based on anything. I think people are people, so I
Hmm.
just kind of let people be individuals.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you for taking your time.
No
Is it?
problem. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
There are some accents in French depending where you're from. If you're from the south of France, north, the Parisian people have an accent. So there are many different accents.
Hmm.
I assume when I speak French, I have the Parisian accent.
Hmm.
And I and I have a French accent when I speak English. So that's
Uh, so what is associated with the Parisian, right? Accent?
with the Parisian accent. Well, that's an interesting question because it's an accent that tends to fade a lot for one or two generations now because of the attraction of the city of Paris. So everyone comes to Paris. Like a lot of people come to Paris from many different regions, and so as a result, the very Parisian accent has had a tendency to reduce, be toned down. But there are some particulars. My father, for instance, has a Parisian accent, but maybe more than I have when I speak French. My brother can have it too. It tends to send. I mean, I don't know if it will mean anything to you, but it tends a bit. It's a bit abrupt. Can be a bit abrupt on the way we pronounce some consonants, like k, like c, which like to catch, to yeah, to catch, for instance, in with a Parisian. Oh my God, that dog is amazing. With the Parisian accent, we would say to catch instead of to catch, and so it's kind of Sometimes they also like we have a lot of words in French, like September, the month of September, we say septembre, so B-R-E. Instead of being B-E-R, it's B-R-E. And that formulation B-R-E, Parisian accent, the Parisian accent would kind of would um, cancel the R-E. So septembre would become septembre. Things like that, it's little tiny little things, but there's definitely a um uh yeah, there's definitely an accent, but it tends to standardize. I mean, to get kind of standardized within a French more average. I mean,
Okay, so uh is there any other like stereotypes that you may hold for other French accents?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could it's hard to answer in the sense that you would need to hear the different
Mhm.
ones, but there are some like we usually say that Southern accents, you have different kinds of Southern accents in French, like whether you're in the Southeast, like the region of Provence, for instance, or whether you're in the region of Bordeaux, which is southwest on the Atlantic coast, or if you are in the center of the South, which is more Montpellier, Toulouse, near the Pyrenees. And but we used to call them singing accents because they are more the language is more um, how do you say rhythmic, I think. The more you go to the center of France and Paris, the more atonal it gets. And then you have also different accents, and that concerns a bit the South, but also the West, where we people roll their R's, for instance. And that happens in many different contexts. Corsica is part of France, but it's very historically associated with Italy, so they have their own accents, which is very Italian sounding. Brittany has their own thing. They roll the R's. Uh, yeah, it is interesting because the French language is very much of course is a Latin language, so has developed as an extraction, an evolution of Latin forms, and in Latin form, in antique Latin, ancient Latin, there was a very rhythmic way of talking, and people from the South seems to have kind of kept that more than in the North. But again,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, these are very much stereotypes that um, I'm speaking with a Parisian experience of someone who actually has left, and lives abroad. So if you were to speak with someone from Nice or someone from Marseille or someone from, they would they would give you their own experience of how they feel accents from other parts of France may sound odd to them. Or um,
Yeah, that's really interesting. Uh,
mhm.
so like, do you think your accent may be an advantage here in the United States or a disadvantage?
I don't know.
Might depend on the
It
context.
depends. Yeah, it depends the context.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, there's a difference between the accent and the capacity to understand or to be understood. Like, it's the quality, whether I can convey the information I want to convey in my English, in the way I speak English,